looked at it himself.
Okay.
But if you go one to review for tonight, that's signable, so
Right.
that should have everybody's concerns enclosed in it, is the idea.
It just keeps on coming. Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
So, let's see. So I'll call the meeting to order. First thing, approval of minutes of June 19th and June 28th.
I recommend we approve the minutes of those two meetings.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is additions to the agenda. I had one, which was, I had two, make that three, I think. Let's see, they are Sharon Hospital Maternity,
From Brian Over.
Maternity Ward. Second is bridge contract signing, bridge projects. And the third is Cricket Valley Energy
Yeah.
Center.
Okay.
Are there any other additions?
I'll second those additions.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next is communications. I have sent out a communication to residents of Cornwall Village. The town crew will be trimming the trees around the village this summer. A lot of them have overgrown into the town right away, hanging down, so when the plows, trucks go underneath in the winter, they hit the trucks. So they're going to go carefully and give them all a trim as needed. Any other communications? Public comments? Any public comments about things on the agenda?
Yeah, or if they're going to trim the trees in town, maybe they could take a look at the blue spruce right outside the driveway to the right here that's got vines going up through it. They can just cut those out. I think the tree would be a lot healthier.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome.
This driveway here or that one? This one here?
This one here is loaded with vines in the lower third of it.
Let's see. So, Rogers, so let's get into the agenda. Roger Kane is next door, so we'll wait on hearing on a couple things till he comes. But we can talk about the Lorch lease. We got a late draft lease for us to look at. Again, we have a town meeting scheduled for next Tuesday the 10th at 7:30 here at the town hall, where this will be discussed, and the new potential owners of Stonewall Dairy will be there,
Oh, good.
and this draft lease will be on display at the town clerk's office until the town meeting. And what the town meeting call, as we remember, enables us to sign a lease with him with this draft. We can modify this. Again, we haven't had full Pearlie's look through it all. There are a few things that are open as far as getting conservation service guidelines and a few other things, but it's pretty well vetted by town's lawyer the new farmer's lawyer, Chris Hopkins' lawyer, and Dirt Capital attorneys who are providing some of the financing for the purchase. And I also did discuss the limits, the insurance things with the insurance company. So we won't sign this until until this doesn't become effective, until he gets, signs a contract with Mr. Hopkins. So we have time to adjust this or negotiate this, as they have still some things to work out amongst themselves, but they're close, and I think this answers most of our concerns. But we don't have to sign off on this tonight, but I'm glad to have this ahead of that.
So do we have to sign off on this before the town meeting?
No,
Okay.
no, and in fact, this is only effective, we can't sign off on it before the town meeting, because the town meeting authorizes to sign it,
Okay.
or whatever we feel is an appropriate thing. If we have concerns, we can amend this slightly. And again, it only becomes effective after they close.
So
So we have time.
the authorization of the town meeting does not require us to enter into this lease. It's just an authorization by the, is that correct?
I believe so, but we
I mean,
could
that's-
look at that.
I mean, that's kind of the key thing. We need their authorization, I think. I mean, the town meeting has to approve it.
Right.
Now, will Pearlie Grimes be at the town meeting?
No.
No, okay.
I think that was the
And
whole
this is-
point of how we tried to set it up.
Right, and this is fairly similar to the lease that
We're
we've
back
had.
to the town meeting.
Lease that we've had with Chris Hopkins for a long time.
Yeah.
To authorize the selectmen to execute a farm lease. Right.
Authorizes us to execute
Right.
it, but doesn't require us to execute it.
Right.
Or it leaves out, there's some covenants, I mean, this is all predicated, I mean, this is what you brought up, predicated on that these people, Cassell and Chris Hopkins, ultimately agree with what they have to agree with.
Right. A copy which is available for inspection or on such terms and conditions as may otherwise be acceptable to the Board of Selectmen.
So this is what Vera will have.
Yeah.
That's what Bureau has. Somebody comes up and says,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
wanna
there's
see
an
if this
obvious,
is what
if we
they
find an
want.
obvious defect between now and then, we can change it
Okay.
upon obviously mutual consent, but this is a rough framework. And again, we're trying to get out ahead of the process, because you think what these people have to go through to make this happen. They have 4 sets of lawyers, plus then you have to renovate the building, plus then you have to set up your farm, get the food for next year, move the cows, get your herd inspected by the state, get the equipment inspected by the state, milk the cows, get the milk actually to pass the state inspection. It's a huge undertaking, so if we can help the process along, I think we should. Okay, so anyway, that is done. That will be available. We'll send that over to Vera on Thursday. Okay, and again, if we will have this as an agenda item to discuss our reactions to the town meeting and any things that comes up at our next meeting. Next, the Bend project. I did meet with HVA and their designers and the Inland Wetlands Commission down there at a site visit last week. Inland Wetlands has it on its agenda tonight, and I expect to hear from Roger later when what the results of that are. I'm sure there may be some conditions or some input from the commission, and we'll hear what they have to say. It's going to be heard by planning and zoning next week. I think same night as the town meeting in the library as opposed to town hall. But as this is a revision to an approved site plan, inland wetlands and planning and zoning both approved a site plan for this project that was much more extensive as far as the scope of the work. It should be a relatively easy approval. But that should happen that next week. I think the River Commission meets same night next week sometime. So they got to get all three of those input, and then we can schedule a town meeting to finally take it to the voters to get their input. So maybe August, maybe September, something like that. I mean, it'd be nice to schedule a town meeting in August. Hopefully it'd be cooler, but that would allow the work to actually get done this year as opposed to September's getting late because they still have to bid it and stuff. So again, we're trying to fast track.
So should we choose a date now for the August town meeting?
Good question. I think we still have time at our next meeting to do that. Because again, notification, the Chronicle and the press and stuff, until, you know, we'd think about that. Also think about whether we would have the Hart Hill issue be able to come together on that.
At the same town meeting.
Same town meeting. So I think we have time to do it at our next meeting. What is the date of our next meeting, Joyce?
Looks like the 17th.
17th.
It's early in July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause 10's a week, and then a week after that, 17th. 17 or 18,
Right.
whatever that Tuesday is.
It's
Right.
the 16th, isn't it? Isn't
The
tonight the
16th?
2nd? And 2
Tonight's
weeks
the
would be the
3rd.
16th?
This is the 3rd.
Oh, it's the 3rd, and you're
one
right,
week's
it is the
10th,
17th.
And
yeah.
another week will be the 17th.
Right.
Maybe
So I think what we should do is, I've got to check into the HVA to find, I mean, because obviously we'll be relying on them to make a presentation along with the people from Earth Tones Design. We got to find out what their schedule is.
Yep,
So we definitely want to nail a date down.
a date that's compatible with
Right.
them.
And see how next week goes, and then I think that should still work out. And
Okay.
then remind the Chronicle that this is in the works.
Yeah,
Well, I would say that as long as the Chronicle is able to say there's a tentative town
Right.
meeting in August, they may not have the date on their calendar.
And I think what I will do is tell them that's coming up so they can they can write an article about it ahead of our meeting so that it will be a feature piece, not just on the calendar. So they'll maybe send somebody down to the P&Z meeting and stuff, so.
okay.
Okay, so anyway, we
And I
will,
would say that it's still a relatively smaller project that probably could get fit in to someone's construction.
Right.
But it still has to go out.
yeah. Preference would be probably, I would think, early
August.
August, because people tend to go away more late August, so.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not gonna do it Labor Day weekend, and I would try to make it sort of like the 8th, the 10th, or something like that.
Okay.
And we need a 5.
5 days at least, yeah.
I think there's plenty of time in August to make the decision
Right.
at our next meeting.
Yeah,
Even
But
the first August meeting.
right,
that'd be a little
No, I'd
tight.
like to do it in July,
yeah,
so we're a little more comfortable with all the deadlines.
But you can't make the meeting date until you have the ducks in a row. Everybody else approving it.
okay, so anything else on the bend? So we will keep working on that. The docks in Hammond Beach are in, a bit over the expected budget, but the project got more complicated as sometimes happens. I think Barbara gave you a
Yeah.
piece there explaining the overages. Most of this is all material. As we've said before, didn't quite realize when we were doing this that the swim programs being transferred from the Cream Lake Association to the town beach, so we had to get kickboards. In order to get kickboards, had to get the ones that fit on these, so they're very nice. Not that I'm a competitive swimmer, but I saw they have been installed. We're still waiting for one piece of dock that wound up in New Jersey. But but basically, as I went swimming at 3 o'clock this afternoon, the beach was quite a lot of people there. Docks were floating. Everybody was happy, and it's a good week to have a dock system in place.
So where the money's coming from?
Right.
So
So the total cost of this will be something like $52,000.
Yeah.
And we've
Right.
appropriated some from the Gates
We
bequest.
Yeah.
budgeted 35,000.
We have CCS.
There's money left over from the CCS playground fund.
So
Okay.
how long is this interest? How long a time frame is that?
That's probably 5 years interest income
Of a bunch of different things.
of the interest of the capital projects.
Yep.
And then we also do have a town endowment, and we have about $1,500 in that, so we could take $1,000 for that, and that would leave us a balance of $500 or so, $582. We still need to make a little sign or plaque or something for the gates, I thought of today.
Yep.
And there'll probably be a few odds and ends, and a very Ronnie Lozano of Chimney Rock Construction has worked really hard to make this all work. He's been in the water several times and on the phone frequently trying to get this all the pieces put in together as
I
the
think we
project
oughta,
has changed.
Somehow thank him
Right.
for an effort above and beyond,
Right.
because that's certainly, I'm sure.
Because the other
he's
thing too, a
certainly
lot
worked
of
more.
contractors, if this had been a straight bid process, they would have charged us 20% on the materials, and we just paying the materials tax free ourselves. So
He probably has twice that time into it, I
Right.
would think.
So, again, it was very good of him to do that. So, I would make a motion that we do these 3 budget transfers, and this will have to go into, again, go to a town meeting, because we already had a budget transfer into this account. But Barbara said the auditor, this doesn't actually have to go to the next town meeting, because we're still under budget for the year. So we're not expanding the town budget, we're just transferring money, within the already appropriated accounts. We don't know, the transfer would have to be done immediately if we did not have already appropriated money to transfer into these things. So we can have this at the August town meeting, or we could have it at the annual town meeting in October or September, whenever we want to do it. We will have to do other budget transfers when the books close. We know we're over on highway equipment, fire department equipment. So we don't even know what those numbers are at this point, but we know.
So does that mean we don't pay this man until we have?
No.
Oh.
What we're gonna do is actually, there's gonna be a Board of Finance meeting, next Thursday. So we can pay people after that meeting. It may take a bit longer to get the check for Ronnie, like another week or something, but, we can pay the vendors and get it all done within a week's time. After that Board of Finance sign off, and they're planning to meet Thursday night. So once they approve it, then Barbara can write the checks.
If we're not
Okay.
able to get it on for next week, of course, and you'd think that even getting it in the August one would be,
The town meeting, possible,
I'd feel
Could be.
better getting it done sooner.
okay? Yep, we can put it on to the next one. Yeah,
I mean, if we're able to get it on there, if it works.
right,
I don't know.
yep.
I don't know. We're not gonna, is there something, another town meeting for September?
Well, we have this Hard Hill project that's
Oh,
out
right,
there.
Right. Can we get them both on in August, maybe?
Right. So, we could, and then we do have other budget transfers at some point.
So do you
But-
need to sign this budget transfer?
Yeah, we would need to make a
So that's the,
motion.
that's
That's the real one?
Yeah.
So you made a motion, I think?
I'll make a motion to do these 3 budget
I'll
transfers.
second that, if it hasn't been seconded already.
Right, so it's, Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Right, and then I do these are 2 budget transfers. Then we're going to take,
Is that 2 or 3?
there's 2.
I mean, this one you're signing is 2.
Right,
Okay.
but so we have 2 budget transfers, which we
You're
just voted.
signing and the motion is for 2.
Correct.
Okay.
And then after we sign that, we make a separate motion to authorize up to $1,000 out of the town endowment.
And that's not a transfer?
That's not a transfer, that's a direct, simple vote of the Board of Selectmen. So we have about $1,500 in that. And this is a good use, I think, of that money also.
You got this?
So, is there a second taking $1,000 out of the town endowment?
I second that.
Any more discussion?
So you made the motion then?
Right,
A motion to authorize up to $1,000 out of town endowment.
right. Yeah, 8,000.
Thank you.
1,000.
Right, so seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So, then, joining us now are Roger Kane and Karen Nelson with a stack of papers.
There's a seat over here, Karen.
So,
The paper big roll, right?
Seat over here.
so we did add bridge contracts to the agenda. And so we have 2, so I make a motion that we change the agenda to put the addition of bridge contracts to now.
Okay.
I get it.
Yep, that was under additions to the agenda.
I
Yep.
just made sure.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So now we'll talk about the bridge contracts. They look pretty straightforward. They are identical for both bridges. We did discuss these with the town attorney, the insurance company, the town engineer, Roger Kane. We changed a few things, nothing major, pretty straightforward. There's the proper level of insurance to protect the town there. There is a limit on time. Is there any incentive or any damages if they don't meet their time schedule?
Yes. In that package also, there is a separate bond for each site. So the bond is in the amount of the contract for each site. There is a $250 a day penalty if they are not completed within 120 days of the notice to proceed. I've talked to Dayton, and if it's agreeable with the Board of Selectmen, they would like the notice to proceed to be dated July 16th, about 2 weeks. That way, the work should be completed approximately November, 120 days later, which is on or about November 16th. So it'll be done well before Thanksgiving. So
And
this
the-
gives them time to complete the design and construct the bridge.
And get the approvals necessary.
Right,
too.
the
The $250 contractor shall pay owner $250 for each day that expires after the time. Do they get a, there's no,
There's no incentive for them to do it faster.
okay.
Just a penalty for them not to get it done on time. So that's why I'm encouraging the Board of Selectmen to be, generous with postponing the notice to proceed for approximately 2 weeks from now. So the notice to proceed will be Monday, the 16th of July. And they have no problem with that as long as the Board of Selectmen, wants to do that. We'll generate a letter to that effect.
Well, presumably they're already working on it.
They're working on the design, yes.
Yeah.
The the CJ, Close Jensen and Miller is doing the preliminary design. And they'll have that to us by the 15th.
So are we looking for
So we
a
need two
motion
things.
to authorize you to?
Yeah, we have, first thing is a motion for me to authorize me to sign the contracts. Is the first thing. Second thing would be a agreement to give an order to proceed starting the 16th of July.
Two
So,
separate.
Two separate items.
Well, I'll make a motion that we authorize the first selectman, Gordon Ridgway, to sign the contracts between the town of Cornwall and Dayton Construction for the construction of the new bridge over, well, the new bridge for the gravel bank bridge, and the replacement of the superstructure for Smith Place.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I will abstain, as I don't usually vote for myself or whatever I've been doing in this case. Okay,
Okay.
but that's a majority,
Yeah.
so I will be happy to sign these. We look forward to getting these projects done, and thank Roger again for helping out with that. I don't think there's any open items on this. They did fill in the blanks as far as some of the numbers we were talking about. Pages, page numbers and things.
And the notice to proceed aspect, how is that officially designated? Do they,
It's generated from the town. The Board of Selectmen will send a notice to proceed effective a particular day.
certified letter of some sort?
It doesn't- I don't think it needs to be certified, just a letter to them, signed by the first selectman or the Board of Selectmen, however you want to do it, stating that the first day will be July 16th, and 120 calendar days after that will be the completion of the project. Now they've got
That's
that-
already in the contract,
that's already in
120
the contract.
days.
They've already signed that, yes. So now we're just saying, when does this begin? When does the 120 days begin? It'll begin on July 16th. And that gives them essentially 4 months to get it done.
So is that July 16th, the effective date of the start of the agreement?
Yes,
Okay, so that's also the start of the bonds.
right.
Okay, so
We've got
I can
plenty of
fill
time.
that in.
So I'll make a motion that we date the motion to proceed, the effective date of that is July 16th.
Second?
I think you're part of the voting part of this part.
That's right. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. I will now turn this over to our document expert, Joyce, because it wants a witness to my signature. And it doesn't necessarily have to be notarized. Can Priscilla do one and Richard do the other, or does it need any?
one witness.
Right. Okay.
And have we put into place the easements for or we're working on that?
Yeah, Attorney Cecil Kramer and Anderson has drafted the easements and has given them to people. I have it on my things to follow up on to see how that's coming. She has given maps and easement language to
Are we doing both things?
the people that are affected. So
Along that railroad drive up,
well, yeah, where we have to drive on the alternate
yeah,
section.
Mary Lee and,
And Dan Evans actually owns a piece there.
okay,
And the big one is Costello. So actually Mary Lee owns one.
okay.
So, but I have talked to all of them.
Do we need to, the proceed date is July 16th or 15th, whatever we just said. When do we need to have our temporary alternative access in place?
Well, it'll be sometime after that, but that is entirely independent of the contract. So this notice to proceed just starts the contract with date construction. We will have to have the access road, put in. We can do that sometime prior to when they want to start construction. We'll be working with their, construction superintendent as far as the timing goes on that. But we would have some weeks after the 16th.
Right. So no, of course. I mean, but that's not a problem. I mean, it's not going
But-
to take too long to put it in place.
It's likely that the bridge work will be done after Labor Day,
Yes,
and likely well after Labor Day.
probably.
Right. So
They are
If we-
aware of the
we get the easement signed in July, we'll be good. We could build the road easily in August,
Right.
be ready to go by Labor Day,
Right.
be our schedule. Okay, did we vote? Did we sign everything we should sign, Joyce?
Yeah,
Good.
we have a date to proceed, the motion to proceed, the motion to
Right.
authorize that.
And we got witnesses on those. Great, I'll give you the envelope to keep it
And we'll go back
organized.
to date.
Great, okay. Very good. Okay, so that's it on,
That's exciting.
it is. Things are happening.
Finally.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Next is the Bend project. So what's the word from across the lobby?
While the Wetlands Commission enthusiastically endorses the project.
Oh, great.
One detail that we still have to work out on the ramp to satisfy what the commission can approve, even maybe what zoning can approve. So we're moving forward, it's tabled until we can get that final detail worked out. And I'm gonna go back and instruct you about that.
So, is it tabled to your next meeting, or can you sign off once you think it's been addressed?
I will pull the Wetlands Commission members about that to see if we can come up with a modification, if we can do something else with it.
Okay, because we're looking at trying to figure out when we could have this go to a town meeting potentially in August, just so they can get started. They, I would think, have to bid it and all that stuff,
I'm
so.
going to put it on the P and Z agenda for the modification to the site plan and run the two side by side, because the percentage of grade is actually its own matter as well, so we can resolve everything and get the Wetlands Commission to all be in agreement.
So they'd have a special meeting or something, perhaps in July, so we could say we're ready to go to a town meeting. Maybe.
Sure that's possible.
Down by the river, cool off, good. And do you know when is this going to Houstonic River Commission, and what's the status of all that?
It should be starting out next Tuesday night at our, same night as our PZ meeting.
Are you having a simulcast meeting, or are they separate
I
meetings?
have not arranged that because we have two public hearings so that I can't put the band in front of two public hearings, so I think we're probably going to see if we can do something, maybe for a special educational meeting later on. Let's see if I can arrange it. I think it would be good for everybody to understand this project.
So it's gonna be on P&G's agenda next
Tuesday for site plan modification.
site modification, but you're not confident you're gonna have your approval until sometime later in July. Our only concern is if it goes much past our next meeting in July, it's hard to set a town meeting in August and get it publicized properly on such an important issue.
I will do everything I can to
So-
find consensus.
Okay, good.
Is there,
Also good.
what was the issue with the end of the ramp? The pitch,
The grade and the Wetlands Commission historically has never allowed any access to be that grade without being paid. And no driveways, no access ways, because, and number one, it's a zoning issue, but the rule has always been 10 to 12% and 16 is great, so we've got to come up with something better than, not on the entire part, but we've got to come up with some sort of alternative that's going to satisfy everyone, because we have to be protected of the roads. So, the commission is very diligent in trying to come up with a solution that's going to satisfy.
And did the last plan have a shallower,
It had geogrid, it had all sorts of different things, which is not proposed on this plan.
zero,
Geogrid,
oh, geogrid, that's right.
What pitch did the last plan have, you know? Same pitch. So if they went with the same geogrid, would the commission be satisfied?
we would be satisfied.
What?
Probably is.
Probably yes.
It
Okay.
does not have to be paved, that's
Right.
one of the things we discussed tonight, but it does have to have some type of treatment to keep it from eroding.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all we're asking for.
Okay. So if they did the same
As the
treatment
previous-
as they had before, then you'd be happy.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be a huge stretch.
And the treatment doesn't even have to be as far down, because everybody's agreed that down in the floodplain where the gravel could go, if it was just gravel, that it would,
Right.
that it
Mhm.
would be redone in a more aesthetic and river friendly.
Right. Got it. Good. Okay, well, thank you for trying to get consensus on it. Anything else on that? So it sounds like some more meetings, quite a few meetings next month still. Right. Got it. Might be hard to pull that all off for August, but we'll see. We'll try. Okay, good.
Labor
So-
Day weekend.
That's it. Good. So next is Pritchard Road access. We've gotten petition, no, we didn't get petition, we got someone that owns land on Pritchard Road past the paved section has asked us to consider upgrading the road to their lot. Currently, this is off Route 45. The other part of Pritchard Road comes to flat rocks. It dead
It
ends.
doesn't connect.
Doesn't
ever.
connect. And these people's property is part of an old subdivision, and there is about 335 feet of steep grade between their property and the current turnaround, most of which is abutted by other people. So
So is it paved now? Or
it's
not?
paved up to this point, so there's 335 feet of unpaved.
And they want it to be paved?
Well,
Is
they
that
want
the
it to be,
question?
it's not even, it doesn't even exist as a road. It's a
Ah.
sunken depression between two stone walls. It's an old road bed.
Is it transversible at all?
No, not in, might be able to do it with ATV, but not with a plow truck.
Can you walk
And
it?
you can definitely walk it. So you
Now,
might
have
want to
they
go.
built on this yet?
No, they're just thinking about possible building alternatives. What's interesting, they also do have access near Day Road, which comes off Flat Rocks, and that would only be
Oh,
like 40
okay.
feet to access the property there. But there's a serious brook that runs through here, and
Ah.
the nicer spot is up on top. But this may have serious costs associated with it to the town, so I thought what I'd do is talk to Pearlie about it and talk to the owners and see what their intentions are.
So we're talking about 335 feet?
Right,
How steep?
really steep, steeper than the ramp into the river.
It sounds like this would be a lot cheaper
Yeah.
to do the day road.
It'd be much cheaper. Yeah,
Then why
We-
is the decision made to do it that way?
because it may be because both of these are technically unimproved town roads, they can choose which one to access off of.
But Day Road's in pretty decent shape.
Yeah, correct.
I mean, it's paved all the way down to the bottom.
Well, it's not paved through here. Originally, the road went all the way to 45. It stops.
The road currently ends
Right there.
right there, so
Yeah.
right after there, that
Okay.
driveway?
Correct. And plus, they have frontage on the old
So that's
unused.
really what they think of, even though it's a much narrower
Mhm.
frontage, this
That's-
is what they think of as the front of their lot?
That's what they think of as the best way to access the best part of their property.
Because if they came in down here,
They'd have to-
cross the brook too,
And go up the hill.
and go up the hill, so
Ah.
they would be required to come
They
up
would
with-
have to come from the big driveway.
Yeah.
So you're saying this is steep, this is like 15%?
Yeah, this is major construction.
That's pretty steep,
Yeah.
but
Would it benefit anybody else besides that one lot owner?
No, because both abutters for the rest of the unused spot
Yeah.
have access to Pritchard Road farther up. So they don't have any access issues. So it's a lot of expense for one place. So I just call the guy up and say, what are you trying to do? We did meet these abutters who are very concerned about construction right next to their place. So anyway, I'll see if he wants to sell it. Maybe somebody wants to buy it and do something else besides improve the road. Never know. See what happens. But I just thought I'd let you know this is out there.
Yeah.
So
there may be an obligation on the town's part, there may not be an obligation on the town's
Right.
part.
yeah, or there may be a way for them to get what they want and the town not to take on a furthering a dead end road that serves very few people. So that's another little project. A more upbeat note, we had a conference call today with Allison of the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities to further our efforts to get a townwide prescription drug card program going, and I've signed the contract which we authorized several months ago. This was originally pursued by Dean Ziccardi, who was an intern here last summer. So they have some sample cards which they'll give us, and basically they're going to mail a prescription card out to everyone in town. And then we're going to do publicity about what the benefit of this is. What Allison said the benefit is that each person would present this card at the time they have to get the prescription drugs. And if they have co-pays or whatever with their drugs, there can be substantial savings by being part of this secondary insurance. Beyond that, apparently there is benefits for pet medicine, which we don't often think about as being an issue, but apparently there's discounts for prescription if you need prescriptions for your pets. There's also benefits, dental, eye exams, LASIK surgery. So, and again, it's no cost to anybody. They do track the savings on a municipal level. They do not track the information as far as Gordon got some amoxicillin. So they just say each of these things were discount. They save me $15. That will go to some registry and say the town. So every year we'll see how much this program saves townspeople who use it. And there will be, they'll give it out to all the box holders in the 3 post offices, and I went into
Okay.
that whole circus about having people in Cornwall boxes that aren't in Cornwall. They said they can still use the program unless their town has their own program, and maybe it's a way to get other towns to take it. Kent has had great success with this, and I've talked to the other municipalities. I did not see any downside to it, and everybody could use help with their
Absolutely.
prescriptions, so
But
why
can
not?
you use it at a regular drugstore?
Absolutely, 66,000 drugstores.
Oh, okay.
Most of the big chains, as well as the mom and pops stores,
Good.
And they said they are willing to work with any store that doesn't use it, but most
Okay.
of the ones in Connecticut use it. So,
It sounds like a positive.
sounds like a positive thing, and we said we hope to get the cards and posters and stuff in within about a month or so. So we'll publicize this as something that's going on.
That's something that probably should be an article in the Chronicle.
Yes, and somewhere underneath all my maps. Take a minute to file things.
Where does the funding come from? for this?
Supposedly it comes from the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, puts some money into it, and then there is, as this is some sort of nationwide program that this company, they hired this company to get savings on the somewhat inflated drug prices. Go figure, but they've been doing this.
Did she address the citizens that don't have a Cornwall zip code?
They said there will be cards available for the outliers here.
So those people on the edges that go elsewhere.
Right, they can come here and after they get the beach pass, they can get their
Yeah.
this pass. So this is their little proposed prescription saving thing. Works for everyone,
Oh,
especially families with limited high deductible or no prescription coverage can reduce out-of-pocket costs. So I can get you, I can get you more, if I haven't already, I can get you more details about it. I'd like to wait until we get a little further down, but it should be, and there's an 800 number, if you have any problems,
sounds like a good deal.
it does. Something we should be doing. Right. So anyway, we'll keep on plugging away at that. Okay, so that's that. That's that. Next is Sustainable Connecticut. Been working with Kate on that. She's going to be away for part of the summer, so we'll still work with the intern at the COG, trying to push the projects forward. Might get some volunteer help to help with that in her absence, and we'll keep on going with the program.
She's done so much work on that.
That's right.
It's
Good.
incredible.
Yep. So I wanted to make sure we took advantage of the intern while they still have her at the Council of Governments.
And then she also sent out, I don't know if
Oh,
you got this
the-
today.
the Cricket-
The Cricket Valley thing.
Yeah, so
That
let's-
came into me today.
Right, so we can go into that. I mean, all these things are related somehow. I haven't, what is the Cricket Valley? Cricket Valley. All right,
I know
so,
Richard got it. I don't see your name on it. I don't think you.
I got a
You
copy
got
of
it?
it,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
right.
Oh, yeah, up at the top, yep.
The part I don't quite understand, somewhere in there it said it's 15 to 20% constructed at this point, so
Right.
it's been in the works for a while.
Yep.
It must have gotten approval from
New York,
New York, from
Right.
somebody,
right.
at
And,
some point in time,
right.
but they never came up about about Connecticut at that point. We were somewhat unaware of it, or
Apparently so.
I mean, and just
I mean-
just as they're citing things that probably take place not necessarily locally, that could happen
In
in Albany, right?
Probably. Right.
Unless you were,
Yeah, and I don't think there wasn't huge opposition in New York State to it.
it probably wasn't,
And
probably
so-
very little.
Compared to Connecticut, there wasn't much. So, people look at it as jobs and in, you know, tax revenues and things, so.
The fact that they're gonna
and-
pay somewhere in there it said $2.5 million would be paid to the town of Dover. If I read this correctly.
Right, I'm
$2.5
sure.
million dollars to Dover over 33 years, which actually does not sound like a lot of money.
It's not every year.
Well, I know, but $2.5 million over 30 years
Isn't much.
is not much for tax. Does not sound like a lot of tax money for a
No.
facility of
Right.
this sort. I mean,
Yeah, so that'd be, it's not even $100,000 a year.
right.
Oof. So anyway, why don't we look at this? I mean, I certainly support their attention on the issue and collaboration. I'm not sure who, we talk about doing a baseline data, I'm not quite sure who collects all that, but we can put it on our agenda for next time when we have a chance to read all this. That's,
Yes, and the next night, they mentioned that on July 18th, there's going to be a meeting at the Kent Town Hall at 7 by the Conservation Commission to talk about this.
Right.
So,
1 month.
Is this something that this would require the state of Connecticut's involvement?
It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe like DEP was not aware of this.
Yeah, it's kind of, yeah.
And a little hard to, I mean,
well, it
because,
sounds like
you
it's
know what's
only
strange?
our little neck of the woods that's going to be affected, not the whole state.
Well, the weird part is, well, one of the weird parts is that on weeks like this, the air quality is terrible up and down the East Coast. We can't burn brush
Yeah.
repeatedly because of air quality things. And here you have this thing that's going to be putting out lots of nasty stuff right near a huge population center. I mean, we're not the population center, but
No.
I think within 20, 30 miles of this has to be lots of people. So, and we get penalties because we have bad air, I think. So, and we routinely sue coal plants in the Midwest for fouling our air here, let alone, sounds like somebody missed the call on something pretty close. So anyway, why don't we, I'll look into it. We can write Kate back and just say we do support their attention, and we'll look into it further and discuss it further at our next meeting. Does that sound
It
fine?
seems as if this should be brought to DEP and the Attorney General of
Right.
the state of Connecticut too.
Because I remember
Well, it
there
says
was,
that Brian's done that. Brian Olaf has notified DEP of our
right,
concerns,
but-
and so has Elizabeth Estate, but it doesn't say that anything's
right,
been
well, I
resolved.
mean, we brought to their attention the killing of trees on the railroad tracks, and they said they didn't do it. So, but I remember when there was a coal plant proposed for New York State, and
Oh.
Dick Blumenthal came out here and, you know, threatened to sue him. I mean, it wasn't
Yeah.
just hi. It was, you know, this isn't working, folks, and really shut the thing down. So anyway, let's look
Okay.
into it and see. It's a good question. What are the states, you know, what is the Attorney General, or what is, now we're between Attorney Generals, but if it's things under construction, it's very hard to stop something that's under construction, right?
But
Well,
maybe they could do something to adjust what's going to affect the air quality.
Right.
Still have it, but somehow address the question of air quality.
Scrubbers, something, right, emissions.
Right. Spend more money on keeping it, burning
Emissions
it
control.
cleaner.
That's what I'm talking about, yeah.
Well, the Indian Point, the nuclear power plants
Right.
down is not very, you know, I think that's far away. That's actually fairly close to us.
Right.
It's, I mean, how far away is the Cricket Valley that they're talking about? 20, 25 miles?
Yeah, something like that.
I would contend that Indian Point is 60 miles away at most,
Right.
which supplies, I think this is supposed to supply 50%, some figure 40 or
Of-
60% of what Indian Point,
Right, because they want to take Indian Point offline.
right?
They want to shut it down.
But
And-
not because of pollution,
Say again?
but not because of pollution.
Yeah, not
A
because
different kind of,
Well, air pollution, not because of air pollution.
right, but a different kind of pollution. I think that's why they're,
Okay, so that's Cricket Alley. Next we have the Sharon Hospital maternity ward, which we've probably read in the paper, and we've gotten notices about their pending closure. Now they're postponing the closure of the maternity ward, which is a serious situation for people who rely on Sharon Hospital. We did get a nice or a thorough letter from Representative Brian Oler that talked about getting together with the hospital board tomorrow. That or Friday, that meeting's been canceled, or postponed is probably the right word. It was also interesting, he had a letter from the Sharon OBGYN group, and said they had not had any news of this before the public, so and I think those doctors probably have delivered more children for Cornwall residents than anyone else. So this obviously is a serious issue.
Ruth Epstein had quite an article in today's Waterbury Republican about this, and quoting some of the Sharon Hospital, and they're claiming that if they can't have at least 500 deliveries, it isn't worth it to keep a birthing center open. And in the last 2 years, they've had like 261 and 271. Right. And that our aging population is such that that's going to go down. And they're projecting in 5 years, they'll be lucky to have 163 births a year. And they're also went one step further, which I thought was interesting. They said, if they closed Sharon Hospital, and most of the patients there, which I was surprised at, come from New Milford and Torrington. And there were like 8 births from Cornwall, and I think, 20, I've forgotten the figures, but a few more in Sharon. But they said if they closed it, then Charlotte Hungerford, which would be, Torrington is the other place, like Torrington and New Milford Hospital both have a birthing facility. So it doesn't sound, even though we might like to have a birth center at Sharon Hospital, the statistics don't sound too encouraging.
Well, I think it points out the damage of changing demographics will do to institutions in this area. So it's not just a school issue. So before it's an emergency service issue, it's an issue for all the social organizations, the churches of the area, and the businesses. Everybody needs people. You can't rely on history and goodwill to keep your doors open. So I thought the other piece that I got today from Maria Horn, who's running for the legislature, said that she has asked the Attorney General to look into it because in the agreement that HealthQuest signed, they had to keep the services intact for 3 years. So that's the kind of, to me, that's the kind of research that has to be done before we really hear the whole picture.
they're only 6 months into it, aren't they?
Right, or something like that. Yeah, it's less than a year. So,
Maybe say,
and also the thing I don't know is that what's going on in the Hudson Valley. I know because 60% of their customers come from New York State, don't even come from Connecticut, or historically. I'm not sure that's maternity, but generally that's where their patient base is. It's actually more in New York than it is Connecticut. So are they seeing the same demographic decline that we are here? I know Weavertuck is probably seeing stuff, but are they, again, we've seen a slight, well, we've seen an increase in births in our little town. Are we seeing that in other places? Meaning a couple of years ago, we had two kids born in Cornwall. This year it's 6. Next year it's supposed to be 9 or 10. So I mean that's is a increase. And my concern is that a lot of families start an association with a hospital at birth. So if from a business standpoint, it seems like a not really, I mean, I'm not a hospital manager, but it doesn't seem like a prudent thing to be cutting off your young customers, I think. But
Yeah.
what do I know? So anyway, I think this will be thoroughly looked at and researched, because again, having Cornwall can go to Torrington, but I know a lot of people come a long way to have their births in Sharon because it's been such a good facility. And to lose, a lot of times when you lose, there's less competition, then quality slides. And it's really important to have options.
What you're saying though is this article said that 500 is their magic number, and
Yeah, 500 is their magic number, and they were like
that.
at half of that. That was what the head was saying,
Right.
the head of the
Yeah.
hospital.
Maybe
was saying.
500 would be
That's
great,
fun,
but
but-
they would be happy with 350, and they're not even there. Yeah,
No, he didn't even mention he'd be happy with any kind of an increase. It was, if we can't average 500 a year, it's not worth it to keep it open.
Right, well, then,
It may also
It
just
sounds
be,
more
well, it
like
may
a
just be what he's
business
saying.
decision
But again,
than
if
a
you-
community decision.
It is a business decision, of course, that's exactly.
it's
what-
great, but again,
Exactly.
they're supposed to be a nonprofit organization. We were celebrating the fact we're back to a nonprofit organization. This isn't supposed to be just dollars and cents. You could say, then if we don't have 800 emergency room calls a year, then we're closing the emergency room. Then what do you have left? You know, I mean, we can all set numbers.
Yeah.
We have goals we have to meet or else we go away. But I think somebody bought this with a general public good approach that we need. I mean, it's supposed to be a benefit to
Now,
the area.
do
not
they
a-
own, they have an
Contract.
association with the New Milford Hospital?
Right.
Danbury?
Well,
Is that right?
again, we have to, yeah, there's a big shift and alignment of hospitals into strategic partnerships. And I believe, well, I don't know, I shouldn't say, but I think they do have more, starting with Sharon, they have now an association with other hospitals in Western Connecticut. So you got like Yale New Haven Group, you have Hartford Hospital Group,
Yeah.
and now you have HealthQuest moving in from the Hudson Valley.
Taking the western edge, the
Right.
western side.
So stay tuned, and I'll certainly let you know, but I think this is in the hospital as a whole, I mean, you can make an argument, various pieces, and in a way Cornwall has other options, but I think if you step back and say, most people in Cornwall could go to either way. They go to Sharon for a reason because they've got good care there, their doctors are there, and if all of a sudden this is the start of a road to losing Sharon Hospital, that is something that we're going to be very concerned about. And this is not a new issue. This is something we've fought to maintain ever since the old Sharon Hospital went out of business and was sold to Essen a long time ago. And that whole process absorbed a lot of time and discussion, and because it's so important.
A lot of energy.
A lot of energy. But we also have to be frank and find out, hear all the facts. What's going on? What's the model? As they said, when they first said, they said they're looking forward to buying Sharon because their other hospitals were full. In the Hudson Valley, they had extra patients.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Ship some of those pregnant ladies to Sharon.
got it. Put them up in the motor lodge, you're ready to go. Expand it. Anyway, and they have spent a lot of money upgrading that whole birthing center and stuff. So. Anyway, but I think my takeaway is, again, we have to redouble our efforts to have, you know, young families, more jobs, more housing, more all that stuff in all the towns, where you will see things change, not for the better, for everybody. Okay, so anything else on that? We'll stay in touch. Okay, so those are our additions. Any public comments?
Yeah, we're looking at the new website that's come up for the school by the Economic Development Commission. There are a lot of quotes about, we're number one in this, we're this, that, and the other thing on the list of things, and there isn't a single point of reference, no data, there's just statements. There's no data reference to anything that's on that website. And I think that any potential parent looking at that would want to know, where did these statistics come from? You can't just go around saying things. And I mean, the very fact that you saw you read the article about Riley Hedden, she talked about being bullied in the 3rd and 4th grade and how she's working on that issue now. And yet it says on the website, what a collegial school and everything. It's sort of a contradiction right there. And I think that you lose, it's just, pardon me, it's just bullshit if you don't have any, you don't reference anything. Where do the statistics that are on that website come from? And since I presume this is paid for with taxpayer dollars on that website, I'd like it to be useful and effective in bringing kids to the school. And I don't think it is the way it appears. And I would just urge the selectmen to take a look at the site and have it revised so that references are included.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, I also find the conversation very interesting about the maternity issue, and I think you're absolutely right about the 3-year promise and all of that has to be followed up on. But after all, pregnancy is hardly an emergency situation for most people, or hopefully not. Yet those of us who are elderly are much more likely to have an emergency situation. So if dollars were to be spent by the hospital, I would hope that it keeps the emergency and the ability to transfer patients who come in with emergency situations to other hospitals like they do now. And if it takes $500 births a year to support a good maternity thing, then I would think that families would want the very best maternity service. And if that meant driving 25 miles, you can make the choice for that rather than having a mediocre or fair maternity offering. I'd rather have an outstanding offering nearby rather than a mediocre one close. So I hope the board will consider the interests of the vast majority of elderly clients and their interest in the hospital. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay.
Well, I've used the emergency room a lot, and I found it to be very helpful. And
Right. I've never found the care at Sharon to be mediocre at all, no matter what stage of life. So I think.
I don't want it to be. I didn't mean to say that. What I said was I would hope if it takes $500 to have outstanding service, then you can't have outstanding service with only $250 because you won't generate enough money.
that's what they're saying.
Remains to be seen, as they say. Okay, so if that's in the public comment, we have bill payment. That's it. That's the exciting part.
Thank you for
Good
coming.
night.